covered this for you, so you can go back and reference if you get stuck on anything. We need to back up our iOS. In order to do this, we need to have in-band connection to a tftp server. Anyone know what a tftp server is? Can you guess what it means? What does the FTP part mean? Yeah, what's FTP? File transfer protocol. T in front of it means trivial file transfer protocol. So it's super insecure, but we don't care. We're backing up iOS images. We don't need to worry about passwords. One thing that has to work is a tftp server has to be set up. So we're going to do this in Packet Tracer first, just so you can see how it works. Because you've got a little mystery back there. Different hardware. Some have your network connection. Some are still struggling getting that network connection. So we're going to do it in Packet Tracer first. And then my goal is to back up your actual physical equipment. The great thing about this is, if you know how to do this, you don't even think about updating your iOS until you have a backup of your current iOS. There was one student, famous in my mind, the only student so far in this course, has erased his flash, has erased his image. And I had to find an image for him to get his router working again. But I thought, that's a really good thing to know how to do in case you actually do erase your iOS, or if you actually want to update your iOS because some things don't work. Like, I have discovered that SSH, if you have an older version of software, SSH will not work from Ubuntu to your system without some really painful parameters you have to put in the SSH. So let's see how this could be done in Packet Tracer. Let me show you a working one, and then I'm going to erase it and start this out completely. Our goal is to go to our router, go into enable mode, and we can do copy. I'm going to do dir flash, see what files I have there. Then I'm going to do a copy. Can you set that large enough? Bring that up a little bit. Then I'm going to do a copy flash colon to tftp colon. And then it's going to ask me my file name. That's going to be the file name that I want to send over. And it needs to know what is the address of the flash of the tftp server. In this case, I've set up a tftp server in Packet Tracer, and I've given them the address 172.1.1.2. And yes, I want to say, I'm going to add the .backup to the file name. Oh, let's give it the same file name. And I'm going to add the .backup. And then I hit enter, and it is now copying that file over to the tftp server. In real life, those exclamation points go a lot slower. That is the goal. Let's see now how you can do this. Follow along in your Packet Tracer. I'm going to put this assignment in Schoology, just for a place for you. I'm going to put it underneath this. I'll just put it on the main page. I'm going to add assignment right there on the main page. I'm going to call it Packet Tracer. I'm going to call it, what should I call it? I'll call it tftp backup hands-on lab. First thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to upload Packet Tracer file that accomplishes this. And then on your router, I'll have you upload your router's iOS image. That'll be proof that you got it. All right. So that's now an assignment in Schoology. I am going to start a completely new Packet Tracer, start completely from scratch, erasing everything I've done because I want to not just have the file saved, but I want to remember how it's done. So I'm going to do File New, throw away this. No, I don't want to save my network. Okay, I'm starting with a whole new Packet Tracer. So
start your whole new packet tracer, get logged in. I'm going to make sure you can see everything. Okay, I really only need a router and a PC. That's going to be my TFTP server. Let's try that. Let's get rid of one piece. I'm going to put the server here. This is going to be my TFTP server. Use this server because it has the software all configured for you. And let's put in a router. Let's just connect directly from a PC to a router. So I now need to go get my router. And let's go ahead and use the 1941. Just because I know we have some, like, they have some out at NICC. We don't even have the old ones. Do we have any 2800s? We got 2600s. Maybe the 2811 might look a little bit more like the ones we have in the rack, but I'll use the 1941 for now. Let's go ahead and do only what we need to do to get this router working. It's a 1941, but it doesn't matter which router you use. It does have gig Ethernet ports, so I don't need to worry about adding any more modules. I'm only using one router. I don't need to talk to another router. So I'm going to go right to the CLI because I need practice with the CLI, right? And no, I don't want to enter the initial configuration. Okay, there's my router. I'm not going to worry about changing names or anything yet. I just want to get that TFTP thing over to the other machine. Oh, before I forget, what wiring do I need?
Copper straight through.
Let's start with the copper straight through. And we'll find out. I'm going to go the first gig, connect to the only interface there. Now don't worry, I have red, but don't worry about that. Remember, in the router itself, I have to enable that interface first. So I see in my labels, that is gig 00. Now, let's go ahead and lay out the plan. What should be my plan? Let's pick an IP address for my router. Anyone want to have a suggested IP address? Let's go. We've done Class C. We've done Class A. Let's do Class B. 172. I'll just do .1.1.1. That will be his address. And let's do the standard Class B /16. This is how you designate IP addresses. Do not leave it just the IP address. You need to know your subnet mask link when you make notations of what your IP address is. And since that's going to be his, let's give him the second IP address, 172.1.1.2/16. This is how you document your setup.
How do you get that little text back?
This little guy right here, the little note. And then if you want to move it, you go back to the selection. You can always move your note around. And if you want to be able to see things nicely, sometimes going at an angle lets you see the interface a little better, so things aren't getting in the way of other things. So you can move things around so you can see everything, and then put your IP address nearby. Now, don't worry about it's red because I have to go now set that interface to that address. And see, I can tell right there from the notation because I have turned on viewing my labels. I'm going to enable config T and interface G0/0. Give them IP address. What was it? 172.6.1.1.1. 255.255.0.0. 172.1.1.1/16. Enter. What do I do? What do I need to do next? Minimally.
No shut.
Very good. No shut. And you hit tab, it'll complete the word. You can just type no shut and it will be happy. Hey, link state changed up. I have green lights. That's all I need to do on the router side. No router rip needed, no DHCP pull, because servers, we statically address servers. Servers, you never DHCP them unless you're in a very experimental lab and you're lazy and don't want to have to, you want to leave all the work to the DHCP server. In the real world, you set static addresses on servers because you don't want them changing on a whim or some DHCP server misconfigured and suddenly your website's gone. So
Increase security, I guess.
that's right.
No one can access our webpage now.
Okay, so here, let's go to just the config part. And all we need to worry about is configuring the fast Ethernet 0 and give him an address as we have notated in our plan, 172.1.1.2. 172.1.1.2, it already guesses, oh, do you want a standard class B 16-bit? It is already set to on, so I don't have to do anything but give them an IP address. And I can close. Oh, we're not done yet. On the server, when you have a server in Packet Tracer, they do a lot of cool things for you. They provide all these services in your emulated server. A web page, it can act as a DHCP server on your network. It can act as a TFTP server. Let's take a look at the TFTP server configuration. And we see, look at it, it already has some files stored on its pretend TFTP server, and it is already on. In the real world, when you actually do this in the physical machine, which I'm hoping you can get to today, that takes a little more work. You have to find the TFTP software, you have to install it, make sure it's running, turn it, the permissions and the home page or the home storage, the default storage location. With TFTP, you don't ask it for a user password. TFTP just says, oh, send me a file, I'll store it where I keep stuff. You want to get something from a TFTP server? It says, okay, here's your file, I'll send it to you. Very insecure, but it's great for backing up to all your images across the network. Okay, so this already has a TFTP working. Now, what do we do on the router? Come back to the router CLI, and I end my configuration. I changed everything up. I'm going to do end, and I'm going to, first of all, see what I have in my flash. I'm going to stretch this out because the file name is kind of long, and I can do dir flash. And I don't think I need the semicolon. Let's try it. Dir flash. That shows me what's in my flash. If I do dir question mark, I can actually see what's in flash, what's in flash 1, what's in flash 0, and what's in NVRAM. Yes?
Don't we want a copy run start so we have the configured setup saved?
Well, it's already there. If you're running and you haven't, it's a good idea. If what you have running is good, yes, I definitely do a copy run start. But here, let me show you. If I do a dir NVRAM, there's nothing there. Let's try copy run start. And now let's do a dir NVRAM. And look up there. That's where my startup configuration lives. So yes, if you have a good configuration, if you actually want to copy it over, you can actually do a copy run to FTP, I believe. But it's really a good idea to have what you actually have stored. Otherwise, you're sending over to the TFTP server your temporary configuration, which may be completely worthless and broken. So how do we copy? Now let's do it. Let's do a dir again. We can do dir question mark. Let's try dir flash 0. I don't think this has anything in flash 0 because this is a emulated. Oh, look at it. It actually has a dir something in flash 0. And that sure looks like the same thing I had in dir flash. Exactly the same thing. Let's try dir flash 1. Oh, there is no dir. So he's showing me that the possible parameters to dir may not be there. There is no flash 1. So flash 0 is my flash. So this is the file. This is the image file that I have on my current machine. And see how, even though if I do a show version, I see that I have a Cisco 1941. But if I look at what I have for a flash, I have a C1900 is my flash, or as my iOS. This is the super important file. If you want to get an updated iOS, you can actually find this online by just searching for the name of this iOS. And there are servers out there providing iOS images for a lot of the older equipment. Any new equipment that's worth anything to Cisco, they have that locked away at cisco.com. You can't get it even if you have an account. You can't get it unless you have a service agreement with them. They charge money just to get updates to their software, which is one reason I avoid Cisco here, because we can't afford to have a service agreement, and because we have all this old equipment that it's expensive just to pay money for updated software. Every other vendor in the world provides your software updates as part of, you bought our hardware, here's where you go get it. Even some even updates itself for you, which when I came and discovered this, I thought, man, I don't like Cisco anymore. But they do have really good equipment. Okay, so there's the name of my image.
Did you find that using the show version command? Or I didn't see what command you used.
Oh yeah, show version. Yeah, show version is what shows me all of that. But I can also do dir flash. Or sorry, yeah, I can dir flash, and that also shows me the files that are here in flash. But show version shows me all the complete details. So if I'm really documenting my system, I want to do a show version and copy paste the important pieces out of there. All this to say that I need to know the name of the file that I want to back up. That's the whole reason I did the dir flash show version. I'm going to select that and right click copy, because now I'm going to need that when I need to send it over to my TFTP server. Here's how to back it up now. I do copy, copy, flash, TFTP. Source file name wants to know what should I send. I do paste of that file name I just copied. I need the address of the TFTP server. It's not going to ask for anything but an address. It doesn't need a user or password. And the address I gave it was at 172.1.1.2. And I hit enter. It gives me a chance to rename the file. I'm going to right-click paste and add the .backup to the file name so I know this is the one I backed up. Sometimes you can even put like backup 211022. Have some kind of timestamp scheme. This is today's dates, 21/10/22. And I hit enter.
Which one was it? The file name you needed? The .bin one?
Yeah, the .bin, the C1900, that is the image. Now you're welcome to copy the other ones over, because those may be important. I don't know what they mean at all. I'm going to go ahead and copy that one over too. I'm going to do a copy and do another copy, flash TFTP. Source file name, I'm going to give it that sigdef, whatever that is. It seems like, might as well back everything up. And the address of my server, 1.1.2. Destination file name, again, I'm going to give it the same file name. I can just add the backup suffix. Backup 211022, the date of my backup. And that was a very small file. And I can do the same thing with that other file, sigdef default. You didn't give the right address, or your server isn't at the right address. So,
Oh, I don't think I pushed it.
if you give the wrong TFTP address of the TFTP server, it'll just sit and look at you for a while, and then find the timeout. And again, the file name, same, but the .backup 211022. And
Why was it accepting the destination file? It's the same thing with that.
I'm using the same thing. I pasted the same name and then added a suffix to it, just so I can prove that it made it over to the TFTP server. I'm going to do my backup of my start. So I'm going to do a copy, or copy run. Copy run TFTP. I could actually, let's do copy start just to make sure it's the one that I saved in memory.
So when we do the destination file name portion of it, does it just create that directory on the TFTP server?
Yeah, the TFTP server receives file. It has a default location where it will store files, and it will store it by that name when you send it over there.
So if you put like a slash and a name before it, it would like create a folder and put it in a folder for you?
You could try that. It may not. It may not give you permissions to create folders. It may only say, I'm only storing stuff in here, but you can try that. And let's see, destination file name, router config. Let's call it startup backup 211022. I can choose whatever name I want on the other end.
Mine says no such file in directory.
Remember that the source file has to exist. Did you do copy start? If you haven't done a copy run start, you don't have a startup configuration yet. Remember, when I did a dir NVRAM before I did a copy run start, nothing was there in NVRAM. So if you want to actually have a start, you could do a copy run TFTP. Let me just do that. I'm going to do a copy run TFTP. remote host 172.1.1.2, and I'll just call the destination manning running .backup 211022. Copies it right over. Now, how do I know it actually worked? Well, let's close this window and let's go to our TFTP server. Go to Services, TFTP, and it has the list of files it currently has. And let's see, there's my backup from my emulated router. There's my manning running backup. So they're mixed in with all of the other files that they have automatically already on your TFTP server. So you now have successfully backed up your iOS using the emulator.
So, is there a little bit better way to make that happen in a more organized method? I'm just thinking, like, if you're trying to back up like multiple different areas, that
Try
have different settings.
copying it to directory name / and see if it'll create a directory for it. I like that idea that you have. I think you could put a timestamp and then copy everything over to that same folder, and the folder is timestamped, and then I have all the file names.
We say we have the copy run start.
Make sure you know
Is that why I think
Well, before you won't have a start until you copy run start.
Because it shows me the flag is 0, it'll show me that regardless.
Or is that
Yeah, do a dir NV RAM. Probably show you
Yeah,
NV
it
RAM.
says no such
Right.
files in the
So if you do a copy run start, then do dir NV RAM, then you actually do have a startup configuration. Remember, startup means it's in NV RAM.
Right.
Mr. Banning.
Yeah.
So mine's not working for some reason. So I copied this file, right?
Yeah.
And then I went down and ran the copy flash feature.
Yeah. File name.
File name. Maybe put the post if that's coming. And then the destination file name, I decided to dot backup. But then it said no such file.
All right, let's see you do again. Go to a dir flash. And now copy that exact file name you see right there. Those spaces. Yeah. Copy. Now do a copy.
I'm just on the
Flash.
flash TFTP. I grabbed the.
I just copied the file.
Yeah, they didn't need flash 0 in front of it.
They didn't include it. I didn't change it at all.
And then
So you just got
paste.
whatever's in the post.
And then the address of the TFTP server.
I've already been able to shut down this one.
Keep the same file name or right paste it and add a backup on it. Control if you want.
Oh yeah, okay. Do it the exact same.
Source file name.
Oh, there's a 4 here, so you should use that.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
I said,
Or the-
post
or the
guy
one
really
thing.
messes up.
Well, to the one,
And then
just
sort of finish it up. Okay.
No kidding.
the one over here and a 4.
That's funny. Do a show version. See if it still shows the back. Ah, so show version is not showing us the right file name.
That was my issue.
I'm saying that's a bug in their emulator.
It's a virus.
We just discovered a bug.
Oh, yes.
Zero day exploit in the packet tracer. If you do show version in the emulator, you get a different name than what's actually there.
We can hack all the virtual routers.
You might be able to get money from Cisco for showing them that. Let me show you what Jonah just discovered.
real routers?
Yeah, if it's a bug on the real routers, that would be a problem. If you do a show version, we're giving a different name than what is actually there in Flash. So their show version emulator, I do a show version. Here's the name. I get a -n-1 in the file name, but then I can queue and then do a dir flash, and I actually have a different name than what he actually says he's booting from. That's telling me the show version is not giving you the proper file name of what's actually there. But it better be the right one. Let's try that on the real hardware now. Now,
So does this keep up with the, like, do you need to back this up every time that you update your copy run start?
no, The start, yes, but not the image. The iOS image is something that you keep treasured and keep a backup of. And let me just show you.
Is that the Flash Zero thing?
Yeah, that's what's in Flash Zero. This, if you delete that file, which you can by accident, you have bricked your router until you can actually find a way to copy the flash over. Because you've lost your iOS, you have to figure out how to get it over to your router using commands from the ROM software, which is not the CLI. So, lesson, do not erase your iOS. You can use it to copy over a new iOS. Let me just show you now, before then we work on the actual physical hardware, that you can go online. I'll go to my favorite little website, go to DuckDuckGo, and do a search for oops, that's not it. Let me copy that iOS image file name from here. Where did it go?
We should upload the router's ISO image here. Use one.
That's the file that matters.
Is that file?
Yeah. I can go online and search for that name. And I find this lovely website that offers images for older Cisco hardware. And notice here I have a 15.2 available. And what do I have? I have a 15.1-4 available, universal. Out there, it may be possible to actually upgrade my system to a newer version of the iOS. When would I want to do that?
Something's not working.
Something's not working like
RIP.
RIP. SSH is what I found out. SSH, remember how there's been issues with older versions of SSH? They found insecurity, the vulnerabilities in SSH. That is right built into the iOS.
We know why show version seems to be showing a different.
I think it's a bug in their emulator. That they're just showing a default name and somebody hard coded the name rather than say, let's check what's in Flash, and then the show version shows what's exactly in Flash. We'll try that on the real hardware, see if we actually find out. Okay, at this point, now this was the easy part. We did it on Packet Tracer, saved this Packet Tracer, and upload it to, you can go ahead and upload to Schoology right now. I'm going to call it Manning iOS, all right, Manning was a TFTP backup lab. I'm going to save that as Manning TFTP backup lab. I don't give a timestamp to it, just for fun, 211022. That's saved now in my Packet Tracer saves. Now we need to actually do that with your real router. Do you have your VMs? And I'm going to stop the recording here because the rest is using VMs. I actually do have a VM on my keychain. I installed it on a RAID. It's supposed to be super fast, USB 3, but it really doesn't seem to be that fast. I have a VM installed there. I'm going to connect my VM to a router over there. I'm going to stop the recording for now.